Hi guys, so I'm just going to do a quick market breakdown just for what I'm looking at for the week. So first of all, start on the dollar. Just for the kind of weekly aspect of things, we can see, I've been talking about this for a while, we are actually kind of getting this continuous uptrend going up, but I do think potentially we could actually maybe come back down and fill these areas in here before actually kind of potentially going and heading a little bit stronger. So that's the daily so far. On the weekly, sorry. Daily, what I am looking for is kind of just continuations. We have come into quite a big zone in here. We did have some equal lows, which did get taken, and you can see we're just kind of manipulating a little bit further. So potential kind of like upside movement could be the case for then that potential short move back into some sort of areas of supply and demand. We can even put a fib. So that 786 is looking really quite nice to where this imbalance fill is and things. So that's definitely what I'm going to be keeping my eye out for to have a look. But going into this week, I could potentially just see us pretty much just continuing, to be honest. We do have this supply up here. We can actually just follow all of this along. A lot of or big supply within this region in here. You can see there was a lot of mitigations from this point including, and then we see mitigating. This was the last supply, which kind of caused that big down move. We did then have a series of equal highs that were created, price come up, we mitigated, and then we kind of just continue and fell through. We did lower time frame actually start breaking structures. Obviously on the daily we didn't break, but I would like to see kind of a bit more down movement from this point, definitely. So I do have a couple areas that I'm going to be looking at. First of all, we're going to be looking for this kind of 30-minute move. You can see this last down move in here. The only reason why I've got that drawn up is because I'm actually kind of looking off the 4-hour kind of seeing, because this was our last move that price actually kind of came in and broke a little bit higher from. If we do actually drop it down onto the lower time frames, you can see we did have a bit of a liquidity sweep on here. Saying that though, I do think price could potentially come down one more time back into this low region and then continue. We can see on the 20-minute we do have quite a nice zone just here, which is kind of lining up in around with our 786. So that is quite nice to see, because this is technically just one leg. This is intermediate structures in here. This is just a leg, so potentially could see that deep retracement actually sweeping more lows, and then actually getting that continuation a little bit higher. We do equally have some imbalance in here which didn't actually get filled yet, so that is potentially leading me to think price could actually start coming down a little bit more. And you can see on the 3-hour we do have a really nice demand zone, which is kind of just popped down and then we came up. You can see we took out this low as well. So definitely looking for a little bit of dollar strength going into the week. Hopefully what I do want to see now is, you can see when price came up we kind of had this correction, then price came down. So now we have that impulse, we have our correction, and then looking for that impulse again back down. I do want to see potentially something within here filled, even if it's literally just the open of that daily. I would kind of be happy with that, and then looking for distributions back down into some deeper demand down here. You can see we do have a lot of lows down here which need to be taken. We've got kind of this kind of trend line thing going on. So yeah, possible downside movements, but we are bearish unless we actually break above this high technically, because if we're looking at our structures, this is kind of just one leg in some senses. So this whole kind of big up move is where I do want to see kind of price looking to see if we're going to actually get more into that. Again, you can see on the 4-hour we do have some imbalances up in here, and we do have some supply zones which are unmitigated, and we have on here some unmitigated movements as well. So I definitely could see price actually kind of coming back up and doing something a bit further in here, whether that's actually going to be coming down for following structure, or whether that's actually just going to be to just continue and break it. So I definitely can see upside to then go down. If we are just looking at simple structure, it is definitely just a case of looking for where price can go. You can either use this high or you can use this high. Even if we use that high, you can see 786 lines up really, really nice. Even if we come into here, we still do have our fib levels, and I'm pretty sure that looks quite nice to be a 50% trade. There we go, smack bang in the middle. So 50% of this whole zone is the actual lower retracement into this. So again, things like that when they line up does really kind of make me think a little bit more. So this is definitely my supply zone that I do really want to be focusing on for either breaks or continuations lower. So dollar, looking for some buys going into next week. That is what I'm looking for, whether we are actually going to come from this zone and continue, or if we're going to come from this zone and continue. So that is what I shall be looking for. AU has just been mooning, to be honest with you. I was expecting a little bit of retracement. We didn't get that. That is fine. It is what it is. But if we are checking out the dollar so far, AU, sorry, we are moving bearish. And this case, we are coming into our major supply zone currently at this current point. So I could see price actually coming in a bit deeper if we kind of invert this and we change it kind of to a little bit of a weekly, kind of similar to the dollar. Is it really? I really wouldn't say so, to be honest with you. So just ignore that. I actually did say that. So let's go back. So AU, what are we looking at? So there was actually some really nice trades that happened in here. There were some really nice NFP trades that were taken. I did have a small short in this position. I'll go into that. It didn't do what I wanted it to do. But ever since we had this news, price has literally just created this big imbalance, which I'm still waiting for to actually be tested. What we can do is we can measure the impulse. Let's go. Measure the impulse. Okay, so you can see this line doesn't mean that you need to be buying from here. This is just an indicator to show you where kind of true imbalances lie. And you can see we do have this gap in this indicator. I haven't done a video about this before, so if you just go onto the channel, it should be on there. If not, message me and I can do you one. But basically, long story short, this indicator is basically just showing me where the true imbalance in an actual like real move is. So you can see up here, we do have an imbalance within this point, and you can see there's still quite a lot of nodes here. These things are called nodes, but when you can see there's a gap in here, price will tend to more times than not actually come in and fill these gaps. And I'm still looking for price to actually come in a little bit deeper into the 50% region if we are actually going to do some discounted prices, if we are actually going to continue up a little bit higher. That would kind of make a bit more sense, kind of like on AU, what on the dollar index, what we are looking at. So you can see this is looking very similar in some cases. So we're looking for the dollar to come up to then come down. AU, we're looking for it to come down or to come up then go down, but it's inverted. So it makes it's exactly the same thing. So what I do and would like to see is if price is going to come in and come into our high time frame supply, mitigate out of certain things, and then actually start coming down and fill in this zone, if not potentially going a little bit deeper into here. If we drop it down onto low time frames, we have all of this which needs to be filled. But what I do potentially think could happen is going into the beginning of the week, Monday, Tuesday, we could even have one more run down into this zone, into this 4-hourly, and kind of take out these lows, have one more run, and then actually come up. Because if we did that, that means we would actually take out the previous weekly high, which is this one if we go into a weekly chart. Oh, okay, so we can't really see that. Okay, so this is that weekly high, which we did make. So what I could even potentially see is if price just opens, then actually be looking for the bearish movements. But this is going to be going on to see what we do with the dollar, because if dollar is going to come down to retrace, or it's going to come further down to retrace, that's what we need to look for. So I definitely could see price potentially running up into these levels. We do have a nice 4-hour zone, which actually hasn't been mitigated out of yet, and you can see we do just have some equal highs in here. So even that could potentially be quite a nice trade. How many moves or potential pips that is? That's around 115. I don't know why I did it there. So around 79. So that's pretty decent. But even if we just go on to the daily, I could see some more downside if we did just come into zone, have some reaction, come down, mitigate into some sort of discounted prices to then actually take this longer and higher up, because we do actually still have more targets up here which do need to be filled and could actually get filled at some point. So we are just kind of going with the trend and structure. You can see on the daily we had some daily supply, daily demand, even daily demand in here. Actually, no, sorry, daily supply. We had daily supply in here. This got broke, and now this is the new demand, which caused this supply to be invalidated. So it does make sense that price is kind of pushing up a little bit higher. What you can see, we have 1, 2, looking for that third strike, and then that's when we potentially go down. So I could potentially see Monday, Tuesday going into here, then following on for the rest of the week, maybe see some shorts across AU, but overall kind of short is what I'm looking for. Just because of the structure, like it's just continued. I do want to see if we are actually going to kind of get a little bit of movement coming back down. You can see we had quite a big impulse going in here. Price kind of came to it, recreated highs. It came down, we came up, and then we come back down again. Same kind of sort of thing. We have this impulse. Price is going to come up. It's come down a bit, creating more highs. Wait for that one more pump, and then the potential short move. And that would actually be a really, really nice distribution that's playing out. Hopefully we actually can get really, really nice distribution from this point. That would be really, really nice. We do kind of have our PSY, our buying climax, looking for that ST. If price is going to come down, then they're looking for that UT, and then price come down, see if we can get a test of that UTAD if we do finally get a breaker structure and actually start heading to the downside. So that is what I'm looking for, if we can get an overall kind of distribution in this area. GBPUSD, just with the news and everything being really bearish, we do have a recession. We are basically in a recession, been in a recession for quite some time, but potential shorts, currently I'm looking at that kind of confluences with AU, because if AU is potentially going to come back down, that means the dollar strength, and I could potentially see some dollar strength at this point in time. So kind of the same as AU in some senses. If we could maybe sweep low, then come up and then come down, that is what I'm looking for. So far you can see we've just been mitigating out of all of this. We did actually sweep this high. We did have a supply zone in here, which you can see this high did actually just mitigate, and from there we had this break structure, and price has just been bearish ever since. If we're looking at the daily structures, we are bearish. We have our low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. So now waiting to see if we are actually going to kind of maybe go down a little bit. I really don't think we'll probably go down that far, but I could definitely still see some shorter moves on GU if we actually follow this whole mitigation trail that happened all the way back in the 27th of June. Price has kind of just been attracted to that area, and you can see we've been following this whole mitigation trail down. So I do and could potentially see some shorts. If we do take out this low, then I could potentially see price kind of running up. This is only going to be my first target unless we actually start breaking and invalidating. I'm not going to be doing anything else. I do want to look for some shorts across on the 30-minute as well. You can see we do have some supply in here which does need to be mitigated, and like I do know that price could we do have liquidity, we do have this high here. So in reality, if we do actually go down a bit on the lower time frames, we do also have this zone. This is going to be some quite extreme supply, but it's still a zone which could actually be mitigated. So really what I do want to see is potential take out this low, to then actually maybe go up either into this zone or into this zone. Again, AU could run up a little bit higher. We do have that 4-hourly zone just a bit higher, so it could maybe run a little bit higher and then come back down. One thing I am kind of looking at is we do have a lot of lows in here. This is when like market opened. We do have a small kind of accumulation here, but kind of this trend line is what I'm looking for. And if we can see, this is 145. So this is just kind of going into New York open. So potentially New York lows being taken out. And if we're actually looking for the weekly highs and lows, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, a weekly, well, all the time, a weekly high or a weekly low will actually be taken. So if you map out any weekly high and any weekly low, it does get taken. You can see if we just use this high and this low here, the low didn't get taken, but this high there, that got taken. Let me just go back out. So you can see this weekly high got taken. This weekly high got taken. This was our high. This was our low. Low got taken, and so on, so on, so on. We had this one that got taken, and we go on, we go on. So I do expect one of these weekly highs to get taken, and I do potentially think it could be this low. Whether we could actually probably run up maybe, or we could potentially head back down. But what I am waiting to see is if we are actually going to take one of these out. Actually talking about the weekly closures, this is technically going to be our weekly move now. So whether that is actually going to be to come in and just take out that high, or whether we are actually going to go a bit lower. And going lower does make sense for me, just because you can see this is that low is where that liquidity is resting. So we could actually maybe come deep a little bit lower and then have that continuation a little bit higher. But at the moment, it's kind of a bit in no man's land. We are at some big level of support. Well, support and resistance, I don't like to use that word, but it is basically just supply and demand. That is basically what it is, long story short. All of these levels across all of this, you will see supply and demand get created. So you can see we are actually kind of like at a big level at the moment. This is going to be a region and area that I am going to be looking for, but at the moment I am just going to sit and wait on my hands. I do want to see whether price is going to come down and mitigate or kind of sweep something in here to then go higher. If price does actually start just continuing a little bit higher, I do and could expect to see this low get taken. So I will expect for lower short moves. But a lot of it really kind of does depend on what the dollar is going to do, because this dollar is obviously the main catalyst for whatever happening in AU and GU. So that is what I'm looking at. I'm going to leave it for maybe until like Monday, Tuesday. I will do another video just to keep everyone updated. That's for those two. And Euro GBP, if we're kind of in a recession, I could maybe see the euro going a tad higher. I could see it going short equally as well. Don't get me wrong, we are bearish. We're looking on daily structures like we are bearish, so it does make sense to go bearish and to look for shorts. If we're actually kind of looking, we did come into the 50%. We could maybe dig a bit higher into this daily supply. This was a big order and on that day which kind of took place. So I do want to see if maybe we could actually run one more time. We did on the 4-hour have this big a manipulation, but just because you have a manipulation doesn't mean you have a reversal or a change in direction. There's been so many times I've seen lows, we get a manipulation, price will come back up, do something, and then just continue lower. So just because you have a manipulation doesn't always mean price is going to reverse. So with that being in mind, I am just still looking at this structure. Yes, I know we are actually high time frame bearish, but we are intermediate structure is bullish. So realistically, until we actually kind of break this low, I am really going to be looking for longs at this point, just because I think we could run out this high which happened in the London Open or just before London Open. We do have some highs in here. We do actually have a 30-minute zone, which I did map out as well. Yeah, cool. So we have this 30-minute zone in here, which, as you can see, basically, well, is basically right at 50%. And my actual fib target, you can see, is lining up with that 50% really, really nicely. So this is really, really nice to see. If we're going to see potential euro shorts to then go long, that means we could see potential USD, GBP USD longs to then go short. And if we have AUD USD potentially, or if we've got GBP USD potentially looking to go up to then go short, then that could be the case as well. Yes, they don't correlate exactly, I do know that, but I am kind of looking at a catalyst for mostly the dollar, and it's always kind of good to kind of have a bit of a game plan and a game idea of what you are actually looking in your head. So we have a couple of options on euro pound. Price could run up. We do have a small order in here. Then we could start heading back down. And only if we do break this low is when I'm actually going to be looking to do something else, because higher time frame on the 4-hour we did technically break above. So now whether we are actually going to come back down or break down even further, I could see price going further down because we do have these lows in here. We do have this big imbalance, which I've been waiting for price to fill for God knows how long. So because we've got a high time frame imbalance which needs to be filled, it's usually going to take a longer time to actually do something. So you can see we have imbalance, correction, then we have, well, we've got your impulse, then you have your correction, then you have your impulse again, then you have your correction. But as you can see, one thing which is kind of making me look now is because we have an impulse, we have a I forgot the word for it now. Descending correction, and a descending correction is obviously what you can see here. When you have your impulse, you have your correction, and then your impulse again. But the descending correction is nothing more than just an accumulation. It's nothing more than just manipulating lows. You can see we actually had that low as a target. Price came down, manipulating. We didn't actually manipulate this last low, which is why did want to see, but we did have some big news that happened here, which makes sense because we probably would have swept most of that out, and spread probably would have taken you out because my spread went really wide here, so that would have probably taken you out. So we have our impulse, we have our correction, impulse. Now we have our other correction, and you can see again this is nothing more than just a distribution. We are taking out the highs as we are correcting upwards, taking out the highs, and then pump. So this is nothing more than just a correction, but just looking at it from more of a technical aspect, this is nothing more than just a distribution. Nothing more than, yeah, a distribution, sorry. So you can see each one of these highs is getting taken, and we are kind of in this slower uptrend. So I do want to see if we can potentially run up this high, because if we're again looking on a weekly, this is our weekly high here. Let me just make this. This is our weekly low. What is happening? There we go. That's our weekly low. And this is our weekly high. If we do actually put it back, well, completely off, okay, but you can see this was our low and this was our high. So for me, it's going to kind of really be what is more probable outcome. We're going to take out the high or we're going to take out the low. Okay, if we take out the low, we're probably going to start breaking structures, and we're probably going to break this as well. So that means potential pullback, well, potential pullbacks and then continuations lower. Then we can target these areas in here or look to fill this imbalance. If not, though, I am going to be looking just to continue. That 4-hour you can see is lined up with supply really nice, and the 50% is really looking pretty smitten with my target as well. I could potentially see a couple areas get met, either this 4-hourly zone just because there's that imbalance there, or if we break it down into a 5-minute, there was some news that happened which I could probably see price coming into. You can see we came in, we swept the low, and then we ran it back. So even this is potentially looking nice for any potential buys from that 5-minute is looking really nice. I am going to wait and see just to see what happens in here, because there was a really nice trading opportunity in here. You can see price mitigated from this point. We did actually have some equal lows that were created. Price came down, we manipulated. Lower time frame, this was actually like a 1-minute break, and then we had a mitigation here. This is your entries going into London open. Look at that. So you can see we have Asian consolidation, London manipulation, and then we have that continuation. So that was really nice to see. Obviously this did take out a couple of days, and then we did actually go a bit higher. If we do go short, if price does want to pull up and then we do go short, we do have a couple little areas that we could trade from. Mostly what I'm looking for would probably be anywhere off of this zone in here. If we break it down, you can see we do actually have some areas that we could look to potentially play off. So that is what I'm looking at. If price wants to go out, we've still got this London low, which I could probably see getting taken out. We did actually mitigate off of this point in here, so that was really nice to see. More time, we're probably going to take that out. So that's probably going to be a target for us. If price does kind of come up correctively, I'm going to look for the shorts to come back into this zone. If price just opens and we kind of start correctively moving slowly back down, I'm going to see what reactions we get from this area. But I would really like to see this lower area, just because we do have imbalance in here. And this was basically where market opened or where market closed. So you can see this, there was a lot of manipulation and things that happens within this point. So that is what I'm looking for throughout the week. If any of you guys got any questions, please let me know. Feel free to fire away and I will help all of you as much as I can. All right, guys.